Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nazir. Hey, we are holding on Daled Amud Beis at the fourth line from the bottom. The Mishnah made reference to something called Nazir Olam, a forever Nazir, a lifetime Nazir. And the Mishnah tells us there is an allowance to trim one's hair once in a while, when it gets kind of heavy, when it gets a bit inconvenient, and the Mefarish learns, once every 30 days. We know that a Kohen is not meant to let his hair grow long, and that's interpreted as meaning past 30 days. When you get to 30 days, it's time for a haircut. That's called Hichbid Sa'arei. It starts getting heavy on him, overloaded by hair, which allows for a trim. Says the Gemara on the fourth line from the bottom. Where do we find throughout Tanakh this idea of Nazir Olam, a lifetime Nazir? The Sanya, we find that Avishalaim, son of David HaMelech, was actually a Nazir Olam. The Brisa says, Rabbi Yomer, Avishalaim, in fact, was Nazir Olam Hoya, Shenemar Vayimi Keis Arbaim Shana. It was at the end of the 40th year. Vayomer Avshalom al HaMelech, Avshalom turns to his father, David HaMelech, Elichon of Avshalom, Es Nedorai, Asher Nardarti al Hashem Bechevern. I have to go to Chevron to pay up my debt, my neder. And it was a reference to bringing karbanis because he was a Nazir, which allows for trimming of one's hair upon which he will bring karbanis. Now, we mentioned before that a typical Nazir Olam gets a once a month trimming allowance, but the truth of the matter is that Avishalaim did not do that. He didn't follow the regular system. How often would he trim his hair? Umegaleach echad l'shnei masar chodesh. Rebbe holds that Avishalaim actually could tolerate more. It was just a once in 12-month ceremony. He would trim his hair once a year. Shenamar vayimikates yamim. It was at the end of yamim layamim. Then it says asher yigaleach ki kavid olav v'gilcha. It was too difficult to bear. It was too heavy. He would trim his hair. What does yamim mean? V'yalif yamim. We learned the definition of the word yamim over here by Avshalom from yamim, which is stated by the other halacha, mibate arei chayma, the halacha where if a fellow sells a house in a walled city in Eretz Yisrael, he has up until yamim, up until a year, to redeem that house. So we learn that yamim is a reference to a year, as the pasuk there clearly says that you wait until the year is up, in which case his allowance expires. So we see that yamim means 12 months, just as by the redemption of that home, the rebuying of that home, Yamim alludes to 12 months, Avkan Yud Beis Chodesh, over here as well by Avshalom. When he would trim after a Yamim, it's a reference to a 12-month period. That is Rebbe's opinion. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, he says no. Avshalom conformed to the standard time frame. It was a once a month affair. Megaleich achas l'lamed yom. He would trim once in 30 days. Yom means a 30-day cycle. Rabbi Yehuda, here comes a third shita. How often did Avshalom trim his hair? Megaleich me'erev Shabbos le'erev Shabbos. It was a once a week affair. Every erev Shabbos he would trim his hair. Why? Shekin matzinu b'vnei melachim, as we find by other princes. Shemegalchim me'erev Shabbos le'erev Shabbos. In fact, they would trim once a week. Likewise, Avshalom had that allowance as well. It's all relative to your position and status. By a prince like Avshalom, hichbid sa'arei, being overloaded, being burdened by one's hair, means more than a week's worth of hair, because that's the practice of princes to take trims very often. So according to the Mefarish, typically a Nazir Olam has a once a month allowance. But when it comes to Avshalom, we have a machlekes. Once in 12 years, he can tolerate more. He was big and strong. He can tolerate a year's worth of hair on his head? Or is it just once a month like an ordinary Nazir Olam? Or is it even less, once a week, as is the practice of a prince? My time of the Rebbe. Let's go back to Rebbe who learns it was just once a year. He draws that definition from the Gzera Shava, from Batei Arei Chaima, from the halacha of rebuying that home in a walled city. It's up until a year. Yamim is a reference to 12 months. Rabbi Yehuda Problem is that if you take a look at Maseches Erech Daf Lamed Aleph, we find that in defining and translating the word Yamim Teh Gulasai, Rebbe himself tells us, well, Yamim, it's an allusion to 2 days. Ein Yamim Chusim Mishnayim, you have to let the buyer sit in the house at least for 2 days. Bottom line is, Yamim can be a reference to 2 days. Why do we insist on waiting 12 months? Let's keep in mind. This Gzera Shava from Batei Arei Chaima is in order to define for us how often can a Nazir Olam trim his hair. The point is being burdened, kaivet. Right? Let's look at what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to relieve him of that burden, of the hair overload. And you can't suggest that 2 days of hair growth creates that issue. So it's probable that we deviate from the simple meaning that Yamim can be a reference to 2 days. Rather, we go for a longer period, and in fact, we learn from the pasuk of Batei Arei Chaima, the word Yamim, which is a reference there to 12 months. Says the Gemara, maybe when we speak about a Nazir Olam trimming, it's after 2 years. Why? Because sometimes Yamim can be a reference to 2 years. We find that after 2 years of the Mitzrayim, Pari had a dream. So perhaps Yamim is once in 2 years, not once a year. Answers the Gemara, we prefer this Gzera Shava from Batei Arei Chaima. You know why? Because the words match better. Done in Yamim, She'eni Mahen Shanim. We learn the definition of the word Yamim over here, from which has no, which is not accompanied by the word Shanim. We learn its definition from a matching word, Miyamim She'eni Mahen Shanim, from the word Yamim, stated by Batei Arei Chaima, which is not accompanied by the word Shanim. As opposed to Paro's dream, we can't prove from there, because that word Yamim is accompanied by Shanim, She'eshi Mai Shanim, as the pasuk says, Vahimikates Shnosayim Yamim. So it's not a good match. What about another place where it has the word Yamim, and it's a reference to 30 days? So here as well, perhaps it's a once in 30-day trim rather once in 12 months. Answers the Gemara similarly, done in Yamim She'eni Maim Chadashim. We prefer determining the definition of the word Yamim by us. Yamim without the word Chadashim. We draw a parallel to another instance where we have Yamim without Chadashim, Yamim She'eni Maim Chadashim, which is Batei Arei Chaima, where we have Yamim without the word Chadashim next to it. As opposed to this pasuk, which you've just mentioned, although it has Yamim, but She'eshi Mai Chadashim, which is mentioned together with Chadashim, Ad Chodesh Yamim. And therefore, it's not a good match. What about the following pasuk? Yamim Yamima. This was in regards to the daughter of Yiftach Hagiladi. So she was in solitude, and she would take visitors. They would come visit her once in a while. And Yamim Yamim over there refers to 4 times a year, which basically means once every 3 months. So perhaps a Yamim over here as well refers to a once in 3 month trim. Answers the Gemara, it's not such a good match. Done in Yamim. We prefer learning Yamim from Yamim elsewhere, but as opposed to here, ain't done in Yamim, as opposed to learning from Yamima, which isn't really a similar sounding word. What difference does it make if it's exactly spelled as such or it's slightly different? We learned elsewhere that we can make Gzera Shava even if the words aren't exactly spelled alike. V'shava koin, uba koin. This is halacha regarding nega in a home. And the pasuk there, it says the koin will return. V'shava koin, uba koin, he'll come visit. And we connect the two psukim, the two episodes regarding various halachas pertaining to the koin's return. Even though in one pasuk it's described as v'shav, in another pasuk it's described as uba. We say, no, it's all the same idea. He's coming back to the home. Irrespective of how we're describing it as shiva, zuhi bia, returning, coming, it's all the same thing. You can make Gzera Shava even if the words aren't exactly matched. So why can't we learn the definition of the word yamim by Nazir from Yamima, the daughter of Yiftach? Hani Mila. That's only true when we don't have a better match. So we're stuck. We use a mismatch as well, as long as the meaning is the same, even if it's not spelled exactly the same. But if you have a better match, you have a better option, such as in our case, we found the word yamim, which exactly matches our word yamim, and therefore we prefer that option. We learn from the one that's more matching. There's another answer to this question. You've suggested that we learn from Yiftach Giladi's daughter, where it was 4 times a year when they visited her, so it's an average of once in 3 months. Well, perhaps it wasn't once in 3 months. Perhaps they came, after 2 months, and then after 4 months, after 2 months, after 4 months, for a total of 4 visits per year. So you'll never know exactly what it's alluding to. And how do we know the it was 1 visit per 3 months, as per average? Perhaps sure they came 4 times a year, but it was distributed differently. 1 visit after 4 months. Then it was 2 months at a time, and so on and so forth. There's no way to figure this out, and therefore it's not a proper source. So that concludes Rebbe's approach to Nazir Olam, although typically it would be once a month trim. Avshalom was able to tolerate more. He was a gibor, and therefore he was allowed only once in 30 days. As we learn from this Gzera Shava, yamim. Rabbi Narayu Eimer, no, even Avshalom would trim once a month. Megalech achas lishleishim yomai taima. Why? Gabi kehana mishum deikil kovet. Just as Kohanim would trim their hair before working in the Beis Hamikdash, because it's just overloaded, it's overgrown. Hachanami kovet likewise. By Avshalom, we don't differentiate. A trim is allowed because he's overladen, overburdened, just like the Kohen is allowed to is supposed to do it. Before the month is over. Likewise, every Nazir Olam, including Avshalom, no different. He was able to do it once in 30 days. Rabbi Yossi Eimer was actually once a week. Megalech me'erev Shabbos le'erev Shabbos ma'ika b'nei l'sharachai. So, as we explained, because that's the way of a prince, to adorn himself, keep himself put together, he didn't have to be different than anybody else. But then the question is, if he's trimming like everybody else once a week, in which way would it be visible that he's a Nazir? In what way is he conducting Nazirus in terms of haircutting? Ma'ika beinei, what difference would there be between him, l'sharachai, and his other brothers? They're all trimming at the same time. The answer is Yom Tov shechaliyes be'emtza Shabbos. Suppose Yom Tov falls out, starts in the middle of the week. The achui megalchen. So all his brothers, the other princes, they would trim on Tuesday, erev Yom Tov. They wouldn't wait until the week's up. You can't, trim on Yom Tov itself. So they would do it erev Yom Tov, even though it was just a half week gone since last trim. But he would have to wait. Huloi megalech, he can't trim so early. He's only allowed once a week. So once a week is a max. You can't do less than that. Inami, another difference. Ligluchim in Safra de Mali Shabbat. What about getting your trim Friday morning? Achuy megalchen, his brothers can. L'kavet Shabbos. Ihu la megalech adpani. But he has to wait until evening, until right before Shabbos, when his week is up. Now, it says that Avshalom went to trim his hair after 40 years. 40 years starting from what? Starting from when? What relevance do 40 years have? What significance? does it have here? It was at the end of 40 years since they had asked, they had requested of Shmuel Hanavi to appoint for them a king, which wasn't exactly the right thing to do. They weren't supposed to ask for a king, and hence this tragic consequence, tragic outcome of Avshalom rebelling against his father David HaMelech. It was exactly 40 years later, which points to the fact that the pasuk is pointing to the fact that this was an anniversary to the She'ela of Melech, and in fact this was a tragic end to that story. Tana, we learned in a brayso, Oisa Shana Sheshal Lehen Melech. In fact, the year in which Klal Yisrael requested a king, Hishnas Eser L'Shmuel HaRamasi. It was exactly year 10 of Shmuel, from Ramah, Shmuel's reign. And the Tosfos here presents a very, brief and concise calculation in terms of how we get to 40, because if he appointed Shaul HaMelech during that year 10 of his reign, and he lasted for 2.5 years. So it starts at year 10, and then we have a year, and then another half a year. So that's already middle of year 4 since they asked for a king. 36 years of Malchus Beis David, and then Avshalom rebelled. So it's exactly year 40 since the petition to appoint a king. Okay, so bottom line is, we have Nazir Olam, a lifetime Nazir, who trims every 30 days, according to the Mefarish Pshat in the Gemara, whereas Avshalom, who was actually a Nazir Olam as well, he had different guidelines perhaps. Rebbe says once in 12 months, he can tolerate more. Then the Rai says once in 30 days, like anybody else. According to Rabbi Yehuda, once a week. Stam Nazirus Lamed Yom, says the Mishnah. Standard duration of a Nazirus extends 30 days. Menan Emili, how do we know that? When a person just says I'm a Nazir without stipulating day, week, or month, it's going to be for 30 days. Amar Rav Masna, we have two shittas. Rav Masna says, Amar Kra, take a look at the pasuk. What is a Nazir? Kadeshiyah. He's going to be Kadesh. And here we have a very unique Gemara. One of the only places where we actually will learn a halacha from a gematria. The word Yihya in numerical value is how much? The gematria, Tlas and Havu, it's 30. 10-5 and 10-5 is 30. Pointing to the fact that a Nazir lasts for 30 days. Barpada Amar Keneged Nazir Nizra Hamur B'Torah Lamed Chasar Achas. He has a different approach. Take a look at the pasuk. Focus on the words. You'll find no less than 29 mentionings in different variations of the word Nazir or Neder. Right, in Parshas Nazir you'll find 29 times, and the Mefarish goes through the whole list. Lindar, Neder, Nazir, Lahazir, Yazir, Nizr. 4 lines from the bottom. You'll see the whole long list of Lamed Chasar Achas. 29 mentionings of Neder or Nazir, which teaches us the duration of this experience. 29. How do we get to 30? The Gemara will ask soon. Asks the Gemara of Rav Masna, Nami Nelef min Nazir Nizra. Why didn't Rav Masna learn from these extra words of the pasuk? Amar Lacha, he tells you, how the drasha? Well, there's a girsa Hanhu L'drasha. All those have a purpose. They have a lesson. They're not extra. For instance, I'll give you some examples. Miyayin v'shecha yazir. Well, that's teaching us the halacha we learned yesterday, 2 days ago. Le'eser yayin mitzvah yayin rishus. Nazirus chal is applied even on wine drinking, which is a mitzvah. What about kiyafli, lindar, nezer, nazir, lahazir? Well, that's teaching us another halacha, which we learned back in Maseches Nedarim. Malamish hanazirus chala ala nazirus. A person can accept on himself to be a nazir and then accept again, and it sort of piles up. That's a chiddush. That's a sugi we learned in Maseches Nedarim. You can re-obligate yourself to be a nazir, even once obligated, and therefore we need a pasuk for that. And likewise, all the other mentionings of the word Nazir and Nahazir, all those words are not extra, they have lessons to them, and can't be used to teach us the number of days for a Nazir. Rather, we need the Gematria. Ubar Pada, who actually learned from the words Nazir, Lahazir, Amalach will tell you, sure, there are some that are teaching you halachas, but leka chad min hoin de lav l'drasha. You can't suggest, it can't be that there isn't at least one extra one that's meant for this drasha, that's not been used for anything else. Elo midahu l'minyana. And apparently, since that's extra, it's going to tell us, well, all of them as well, kulu nami l'minyana, which will indicate for us that, make a full count, and it'll come up with a total of 29 words alluding to Nazirus or Neder in this parasha to tell you it's a 29-day experience. Asks the Gemara, well, Tanan, we've learned in the Mishnah, that's 30-day experience. Stam Nazirus, Shleish Yom, Bishlam Rav Masna, according to Rav Masna, the gematria of the word Yia indicates 30 days. Nicha, we understand why it's a 30-day experience. Ela bar pada kash, but according to Rav Pada, it should be only 29. Why does the Mishnah tell us it's 30? Amar bar pada, his response is like this. Technically, Nazirus only lasts for 29 days, past which it's over. For instance, he can't be shoyl on his Nazirus once his 29 days are up. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to wine, etc., he has to wait. Wait for what? Wait for day 30 where he concludes his experience by bringing karbanis and takes a haircut. So but ultimately it's going to last into the 30th day, just by default, by circumstance. So again, Bishlam Rav Masna, Nicha, according to Rav Masna, who learns from Yia that it's a 30-day experience, I understand why the Mishnah mentions 30. Ela bar pada kasha, according to Rav Pada, it should last only 29 days, as per the extra words in the parasha. Amalach bar pada, the answer is like this. I did the ikayim tlasin. Since we have day 30, which he has to wait for, on which he shaves his hair and brings karbanis, and he must wait until then to get involved in wine, etc. That's why the Mishnah alludes to 30, because technically he has to wait until day 30. Tanan, we have a Mishnah as follows. Misha Amar Hareini Nazir. A person declares himself as Nazir. He must wait until day 31 to shave to conclude his process. Why day 31? So Bishlam Rav Masna, Nicha, according to Rav Masna, who says a Nazir is a 30-day experience. Certainly it must wait until those 30 days conclude, and then only on day 31 can he shave, can he take care of himself. Ela lebar pada kasha. But according to Rav Pada, why wait until 31? At most, it's day 30. Really, it's 29 days. But he must wait overnight to take care of the karbanis. How do you get to 31? Amalach Rav Pada responds, okay, that's a good kasha, but Amos Sefer, let's proceed to the next part of the Mishnah, which says that although preferably he waits till day 31, but if he shaved on day 30, it's okay. How is that okay? That proves my point, that there's no need to keep more than 29 days, and just it spills over into day 30 by default. Okay, fine. So we seem to have a dilemma, because Elos Sefer Masayele, certainly the last part of the Mishnah, which indicates that you can shave on day 30, but the Eved is a raya to Bar Pada. But what about the Reisha, which indicates that L'chatchila you wait until the next day? Why? The answer is Midrabanan. Reisha Nasa Ko'emer Shleiman. The Tosfos explains, is a concern. You know, people speak in whole numbers. Perhaps a person will get up and say, I'm a Nazir for 30 days. It just sounds better, it just works better. He might say it that way, in which case he will have to keep 30 days. You see, the whole discussion here is regarding the Lashon Nazir without stipulation. But if he details, he says, I'm a Nazir for 30 days, for 100 days. Well, that becomes his duration, right? So, that in fact the person will say 30 days, because the fact is, as we explained according to all shittas, you have to wait until day 30, so perhaps that's what sticks in people's minds. They forget about the fact that really it's 29, just a little extra. So on account of that case, that a person will actually say, I'm a Nazir for 30 days, Chachamim were choishish, and they said, you know what, every Nazir should be kept for 30 days, and just tend to your hair and everything else on day 31. Wait another day. So according to Bar Pada, we understand the Mishnah like this. Mishnah which says that L'chatchila, Giluach takes place on day 31, B'di'evet on day 30 is okay, is explained as follows. The Seifa speaking, technically speaking. Midaraisa. Nazirus is just a 29-day experience. On day 30, you're okay for Giluach. L'chatchila midrabanan, wait another day, on account of the case where a person may actually say, commit himself to 30-day Nazirus. So on account of that chashash, we obligate every Nazir to give an extra day. So we've addressed the Mishnah according to Bar Pada. Now, Ula Rav Masna Kasher Seifa. Let's go back to Rav Masna, who says, well, Yiyah, Begematria 30, Minat Torah, you have to keep 30 days. So the Mishnah which says that you have to wait until day 31 is great. What about the Seifa which says B'di'evet on day 30 is okay? How do we explain that? Ula Rav Masna Kasher Seifa, the answer is Kasavar. Rav Masna holds. Miktsas Hayom Kekuloi. As opposed to Bar Pada, explains Taisus, who says, well, the days of Nazirus are full and complete. There's no cutting corners. 29 is 29. And you have to wait until day 30 to tend to your hair. Rav Masna disagrees. Some Mefarshim explain because it says Melois Nizroi, completion, full days. Right? So that's Rav Pada's opinion. It needs to be full days. Rav Masna says no. Miktsas hayom kekulei. Just like we find by Yav Velus, by other halachis. Observing even part of a day is tantamount to observance of the entire day. You have experienced that day, even just a small part of it. That day counts to your credit. Here as well. Even though technically Nazirus extends for 30 days, once you've entered into day 30, you are Yotzei. Although l'chatchila, the Mishnah says you should keep full days. Perhaps based on the same rationale, because of Malois, because of the chashash we said before, that perhaps a person might actually say, I want to keep 30 days, in which case he has to keep, 30 full days, in which case he'll have to keep 30 full days. Whatever the reason is, l'chatchila, you should keep full days. But if in fact he cut his hair on day 30, even Rav Masna would be okay with that, because savar miktsas hayom kekulei. So it's considered like a full 30-day Nazirus. Tanan, let's address one more Mishnah. Hareini nazir shleishim yom. Im gilach yom lamed lo yotze. The person actually says, I'm going to be a nazir for 30 days. And he was megaleach, he terminated his nazirus on day 30, he's not yotze. Now, according to Bar Pada, who doesn't subscribe to miktsas hayom kekulei, as we explained, the Mishnah is fully understandable. He said 30 days, he didn't keep it. But according to Rav Masna, what about miktsas hayom kekulei? Sure, he said 30 days, but it's already day 30, and part of it is counted as the full day. The answer is here, we're speaking about a unique case, when he actually said, I'm going to keep 30 full days. There's no way around that. Even according to Rav Masna, he must wait until tomorrow to finish his Nazirus. So the bottom line is, we all know that a Stam Nazir is 30 days. How do we know that? According to Rav Masna, Yiyeh begematria shleishim. According to Rav Pada, we have 29 mentionings of Lashon Nazir and Nazir in the Parsha, which teaches us that Nazirus is really 29 days. But technically, you have to wait until the next day, because according to Rav Pada, you don't say miktsas hayom kekulei. That would allow him to terminate his Nazirus on day 29. You don't say that. You have to keep full term, full 29 days. So inevitably it spills over into day 30 when he does his karbonis and his geluach. According to Rav Masna, you must keep 30 days regardless. But you can apply miktsas hayom kekulei, in which case even part of day 30 counts. But that's when he says harini nazir. If he says harini nazir shleishim yom, certainly when he says shleimim, he has to keep 30 days according to all shittas. And when he says shleimim, all agree you can't say miktsas hayom kekulei. Rather, he must do his giluach on day 31. We also discussed Nazir Olam, who can trim once in 30 days. We had the story of Avshalom, the 3 shittas regarding when he was allowed to trim his hair. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.